Later internet writers, with their souls piercing through the three kingdoms, became the mediocre, butcher general, He Jin, who played good cards. At the beginning, he was on his way into the palace, and ahead was the swordsman who was ambushed by the 10 Constant Attendants. With a slight mistake, the next scene was the familiar plot of Yuan Shao and Chao killing eunuchs, and the demon king Zhong taking advantage of the situation to enter Luoyang. In times of crisis, how should future youth choose? Let's see how He Jin, under the guise of orthodoxy, recruited famous generals and advisors, recruited Chao and Liu Bei as his subordinates, and led the end of the Han Dynasty towards a new direction. Chapter 1. What general am I? You are listening at novel full.audio. General, after turning the corner in front, you will arrive at the Empress Dowager's bedroom, said the leading eunuch with a smirk on his face, but with a hint of murderous intent and ridicule hidden in his eyes. Wait. The general suddenly stopped and asked in confusion, why did the Empress Dowager summon me in the palace? Although I am a general, it may not be good for me to enter the Empress Dowager's palace this night. Originally, this great general was no longer that great general. His soul came from later generations, a web writer, He Jin. I don't know why, but when I woke up, I put on this general. Before he could figure out the situation, someone came to report that someone had come from the Empress Dowager's side and requested the general to discuss the matter. It was not until then that he realized his identity as a great general. It seemed that although he had traveled through time, at least he should have had no worries about food and clothing, and he felt some comfort in his heart. Due to confusion about the situation and fear of being seen through one's identity. Upon hearing that the Empress Dowager was invited, she dared not delay. With the help of servants, she casually put on a brocade robe and left the door. At the same time, I don't forget the dark pleasure in my heart. This high-level person is different, dressed and helped by servants, he. So he followed the eunuch who was leading the way to the outside of the Empress Dowager's palace, confused, with 2 guards. But as soon as he heard it was the Empress Dowager's palace, He Jin became alert. After all, although he was just a second-rate writer in his past life, he was not a fool. Are you sure it's not a trick to enter the Empress Dowager's palace this night? He even doubted whether his political enemies were going to pit him. I secretly swore in my heart, let's forget about the Yin, and even mention the Empress Dowager. Once I figure out who it is, I will definitely report to the Emperor and the Empress Dowager and execute them all over the family, In my heart, I am even more grateful for my wit, imagining that with the trust of the Emperor and Empress Dowager, I will just lie flat and live a life of extravagance. Isn't it wonderful? It has to be said that this writer is truly capable of fantasizing. But on the surface, he didn't show any signs. After all, he was still waiting for the young eunuch's answer at the moment. Faced with the general's questioning, the eunuch looked at him strangely and smiled. The general is joking. You are the elder brother of the Empress Dowager and the Emperor's uncle. What's wrong with meeting your own sister? Who dares to gossip? I'll go, am I so awesome? The elder brother of the Empress Dowager and the uncle of the Emperor, who is still a great general, shouldn't I be able to walk horizontally in this world? No matter which immortal made me travel, I am truly grateful. Slow down, first stabilize the wave. People are too lively, and it's easy for joy to turn into sorrow. The extravagant life has not yet begun, so keep a low profile. So He Jin made an effort to put on a grand general's aura and asked, so tell me, what evening is this? Which grand general am I? Walter. The young eunuch was immediately confused when asked. Isn't this general foolish? But on the surface, he still respectfully replied, now it is the first year of Guangxi, and you are the general he. You are not allowed to use the word Jin. After speaking, the eunuch chuckled and said, General, did you drink tonight? The Empress Dowager is still waiting in the palace. Please hurry up and set off. Drinking alcohol is normal. But even if you're happy and proud, you want to eliminate the eunuch. I really have to spare you, humph. The little eunuch thought fiercely. What? What do you call me, General Jin? He Jin exclaimed in surprise. He didn't originally know whose era Guangxi was, but as an online writer, how could he enter this famous family name? It's like thunder piercing his ears. If you guess correctly, as long as you turn the front corner and enter the gate of the Empress Dowager's palace, you may only be waiting for the eunuch's steel knives. Looking at the dim lights in the forbidden city, He Jin couldn't help but shudder and exclaimed with grief and indignation, didn't I just castrate an online article? If it's not too big, I'll make up for it. Don't you want to play with me to death? Looking at this eunuch, why is he so angry? Go on the road, go on your master's road, your whole family will go on the road. If it weren't for being cautious and asking an extra question, would have already fallen into the street now. Can I not go, okay? He asked weakly. The eunuch was caught off guard when asked. Before he could react, He Jin stood up and said coldly, I suddenly remembered that I have something important to attend to. I will come back later to pay my respects to the Empress Dowager. Life and death are at stake. Recently, I displayed the aura of a great general, but temporarily suppressed the eunuch. But the Empress Dowager is still waiting. If the general doesn't go, I'm afraid the Empress Dowager won't like it. The eunuch was still making final efforts. General has said that there are still important matters to deal with at home. The Empress Dowager is also my family, and I will explain to her later. Why? As a eunuch, you also have to take care of generals and Empress Dowager's private affairs. He glared fiercely. Not to mention, although He Jin didn't have much ability before, the butcher's physique was displayed here, coupled with his high and powerful demeanor over the years. With just one glare, this young eunuch was so frightened that he dared not even call him. You're quite sensible. Let's go. He Jin waved and turned around, leading two guards back, leaving only the young eunuch in chaos in the wind. What? Did you let him go back? Zhong rang, the eunuch who received a message from the young eunuch, exclaimed in shock behind the entrance of the Empress Dowager's palace. Lord Chang, spare your life. The young eunuch knelt on the ground, pleading for mercy and explaining, it's not that the servant asked the general to go back, it's that the general suddenly said he wanted to leave. At that time, the general was with two guards and was outside the palace. The servant was alone, with small arms and legs. How could he stay? After finishing speaking, he quickly explained the details of the matter. It's all right. Why did Butcher he leave? If he really had something important, how could he have followed you into the palace before? I think it's you, greedy for power, secretly reporting to Butcher he. Zhang Rang was furious. Hey, Zhang Changsher, calm down. If Little Easy, the eunuch, really wants to join He Jin, he won't bring him to the palace, said Zhao Zhong, one of the 10 Changsher. Thank you very much, Zhao Changsher. I did not reveal a word, Little Easy exclaimed excitedly as Zhao Zhong excused himself. Why did he suddenly leave when he was about to enter the jar? Zhang Rang couldn't understand. I don't know about this either, Zhao Zhong reluctantly spread out his hand and then changed his tone. However, since the action failed today, Butcher he also saw Little Easy, and Little Easy, you happen to know our plan. In order to prevent you from biting us back in front of Butcher he in the future when things are urgent, today we need to keep you. After speaking, Zhao Zhong gave a glance to both sides, and the swordsman who had previously ambushed He Jin stepped forward to hold down Shao Lizi. The sudden change made Little Easy panic and shout, please spare your lives, 2 constant attendants. I dare not reveal today's events. What are you waiting for? Take action. Zhang Rang impatiently ordered, as tonight's defeat made him restless. With the orders of the 2 constant attendants, before Little Li could plead for mercy again, the swordsman cut off Little Li's head with one blow. On the other hand, He Jin led 2 guards to quickly step out of the palace gate, and it wasn't until the moment they stepped out that He Jin's suspended heart slightly relaxed. It's so close. He Jin was already sweating profusely from behind. Looking back at the palace behind him, it was like a monster that ate people, making him unwilling to linger here for a moment. Just as he was preparing to return to his residence, 2 teams of people suddenly surged from the corner of the main street outside the palace, each holding swords and torches, with about a few hundred people. After seeing He Jin from afar, the 2 leaders exclaimed in surprise, "General, how are you? The last generals Yuan Shao and Cao Cao come to escort us." Chapter 2. The butcher He Jin is not conscientious. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. General, are you safe? The last general, Yuan Shao, Cao Cao, come and escort us. Yuan and Cao shouted from a distance. That's right. He Jin patted his head. In terms of romance, it said that when he entered the palace, Yuan Shao and Cao Cao led troops to follow him. Why did he only come now? As expected, the novel cannot be fully trusted. After a moment of daze, the 2 of them had already come to He Jin and bowed to him, saying, "General Yuan Shao and Cao Cao, pay respects to the general." No need to be polite, why are you 2 here? He Jin asked thoughtfully as he looked at Yuan, Cao, and the team behind him. At home, the last general heard that the Empress Dowager was calling for a general late at night, fearing that it was a conspiracy by the eunuchs. He specially brought his servants to escort him. Yuan Shao replied first. Yes, I will receive the initial notice and also bring my servants. Cao Cao quickly explained. Thank you for taking the trouble, General. I'm fine, He Jin said absent-mindedly. Didn't the general enter the palace? Why is he here? Yuan Shao couldn't help but ask. He Jin looked at the questioning expressions on the faces of the 2 and sighed, this is not a place for discussion. Let's go back to the mansion and talk about it. No. Since He Jin spoke, Yuan and Cao quickly said yes and led their subordinates to protect He Jin towards the direction of the general's mansion. About half an hour later, more than half of the talented people in Luoyang gathered at the residence of the Grand General. Although it is still late at night, the general's mansion is brightly lit. Yuan Shao, Yuan Shu, Lu Biao, Cao Cao, Kong Rong, Wang Yun, Kuai Yu, Sun Yu, Chen Lin, Su Yu, and other future leaders and talents all sat down to take action. I couldn't help but feel the illusion that all the talented people in the world have entered my circle. It should be noted that in this era, personnel were employed under the system of imperial examination and conquest. It seems that such a general and the governors of each state have the power to conquer their own staff. However, in this era, most taxi drivers cherish their feathers and will not deal with people with bad reviews, and they will never easily become officials for the sake of 5 bushels of rice. Because once this happens, one will be labeled as a student and be loyal to them. And among all of you present, some were recommended and recruited by He Jin to serve as officials in the court, while others were also gathered under the protection of the Grand General's mansion due to their hatred for the chaotic politics of the 10 Constant Attendants. From this, it can be seen that besides his status as a national uncle and general, this butcher he is not completely useless. Otherwise, his general's mansion would inevitably be dominated by petty people who tend to follow the trend, and there would not be so many talented people as his wings. Speaking of this, He Jin was even more speechless towards the original general He. With such an identity and such a team, it is easy for a few eunuchs to understand. Not to mention being unique, it can be considered rare in the world. Seeing that everyone had already arrived, He Jin, now it was He Jin. He took the lead in speaking and recounted today's events. And he expressed his own speculation, which is not entirely speculation. After all, historical records record that General He died at the hands of eunuchs, and then asked, "What do you think?" Everyone in the hall thought for a moment, and after a moment, Sun Yu spoke up, if it were as the general said, I'm afraid there might be some swordsman hidden in the Empress Dowager's palace tonight. If it weren't for the general's vigilance, I'm afraid the consequences would be unimaginable. Nonsense, of course He Jin knew that the consequence would be to throw himself into the street, followed by 2 or 5 young men, Yuan, Shao and Cao, leading their troops into the palace and killing them indiscriminately. However, they let the young Emperor Liu Bian and the Chen Lu Wang Lu Xie fall into the hands of eunuchs and escape from the palace, giving Dong Zhuo, the demon king, an excellent excuse to intervene in the court. By the way, where is Dong Zhuo now? So He Jin quickly asked, where is Dong Zhongying now? This thoughtless question puzzled everyone for a while, but in the end, Suyu said, General Hui, Dong Zhuo is currently stationed 20 miles outside Luoyang city. Is the general going to summon him to the capital? He thought that after what happened today, He Jin also remembered to use the power of foreign troops to execute eunuchs. Originally, He Jin had long had the intention of killing the 10 attendants, but it was hindered by his empress, now the Empress Dowager, sister's constant obstruction, claiming that he could become the empress and He Jin could become the grand general. Zhang Rang and others had made efforts. Helpless, He Jin listened to Yuan Shao's bad idea and summoned various feudal lords, including Dong Zhuo, Wang Kuang, Ding Yuan, and others, to Luoyang to demonstrate the people's willingness to kill eunuchs, in an attempt to exert pressure on the palace. Previously, Ding Yuan was ordered to set fire to Mengjin, and the flames could be seen in Luoyang, which also made Empress Dowager he dare not speak too much for the eunuchs. Ding Yuan himself was also appointed as the Zijinwu. If nothing unexpected happens, he will basically settle in the imperial capital of Luoyang in the future. Seeing that the eunuch group was only one last shot away, He Jin hesitated again and asked Dong Zhuo to lead troops to Bingzhou and take up the position of governor of Bingzhou. It is easy to invite gods but difficult to send them away, but Dong Zhuo used the excuse of a shortage of food and grass to station troops in Hanoi for a long time, and then even marched outside Luoyang to observe the situation. General is not allowed. As a mere eunuch, as long as the general orders, a small official is enough to capture him, so there is no need to rely on external forces. Besides, Dong Zhuoping, who is stationed outside Luoyang, has ulterior motives and cannot be ignored. The speaker was Cao. At this time, although he was middle-aged, he still had a heart full of anger. What is this all about? Faced with everyone's gaze, He Jin rubbed his temples and smiled bitterly with a headache, saying, Mengde, don't worry. I'm just asking. The biggest problem now is within the Forbidden City. We'll discuss Dong Zhuo's matter later. No. Cao clenched his fists and sat down. What is the plan of the general for today's matter? Lu Biao asked. Oh, what do you think should be done? Instead, He Jin kicked the ball back, wanting to see everyone's reaction. Unexpectedly, during this period of indecisiveness and frequent incompetence on the issue of eunuchs, everyone was inevitably disappointed with him as a general. His questions were unanswered for a while. It's not surprising that killing a eunuch is such a simple matter, and there are countless ways for you to do it. You don't even listen, so why ask again now? You can make your own decisions. Everyone looks like they are all determined by a general. Finally, Yuan Shao suggested, today, the Grand General's mansion is full of heroes. If we take this opportunity, tonight we will enter the palace, execute the eunuchs, and clear the emperor's side. No way. He Jin quickly replied. As things have progressed to the present, He Jin has gradually entered his role, but precisely because of this, he always feels that this matter is not so simple. Otherwise, it would be just a few eunuchs. Cao knew that a small official could handle it, and the previous butcher he really didn't understand. Although he couldn't figure it out for the time being, He Jin decided to cancel the action first, so he said, let me think about it again. Tonight has been a tough night for everyone. It's already late now, let's go back and rest first. Indeed, it's not over yet. The people in the hall sighed to themselves, but they all quietly withdrew from the general's mansion and dispersed. Vertical sun, it's not worth plotting. Is this big man really hopeless? Outside the general's mansion, Chao looked at the night sky, feeling increasingly disappointed and sad. However, just as he was about to leave, a voice came from behind. "Lord Chao, please stay. The general has something to discuss." Chapter 3. Keeping a low profile and enduring humiliation. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 4. He Jin's ambition in his heart. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 5. Inviting the Emperor to the urn. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 6. Pinch Zhao Zhong. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. Court controversy. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 8. One hammer to determine the sound. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 9. Lvbu call you dad, do you dare to agree? You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 10. 5 Good Generals. You are listening at novel full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text.